Yep.
Why don't you sort of recap what happened with Edward Snowden that made him both an international celebrity and in the United States a bit of an international pariah?
So it's a really interesting story because we had the Super Bowl and they celebrated Pat Tillman, who was kind of, just a football player who after 9/11 got inspired to go and fight for his country out of anger about the attack that had been launched. Edward Snowden had a very similar trajectory. His father was in the Coast Guard. He was kind of a lower middle class family. He didn't really have a lot of educational opportunities, and after 9/11, he wanted to go and fight for his country, including in Iraq. He went, he enlisted in the army, broke his legs in basic training, and instead ended up at the CIA. He was a true believer in what he was being told about what the security state does, that it protects the greatest democracy in the world, the United States, and it does so with good intentions, and he wanted to be part of that. And instead, once he started working within it, he started seeing the truth, which was, in particular, the thing that offended him most was, we have these agencies that have enormous, virtually unlimited power, especially the CIA and the NSA, the two agencies with which he most worked. And what he saw was that instead of directing those capacities outward, as their mission requires, as their entire function is intended to do, there's a prohibition, the kind of red line that they just were supposed to cross from the beginning, which is turning their powers inward on the American people. That's exactly, after 9/11, what began happening. Maybe with good intentions or not, nonetheless, by the point that he decided he was going to kind of blow the whistle, he was looking at a system in which the NSA was spying on millions and millions and millions of American citizens en masse and indiscriminately, exactly what the Fourth Amendment was designed to prohibit. And the breaking point for him, for Edward Snowden, was he was holding this information in his hands, deciding whether or not he was willing to risk his life to tell the American people about what their government was really doing to their privacy rights, and watch James Clapper, the senior national security official in the Obama administration, he was director of national intelligence, go before the Senate in March of 2013. And when asked by Senator Ron Wyden, does the NSA collect data on millions and millions of Americans, Clapper looked right at him and lied and said, no, we don't, at least not wittingly. And Snowden was holding in his hand the proof that there were many programs that did exactly that collected information not on al-Qaeda or on foreign terrorist groups or on China or Iran or whomever, but on the American people. They had secret court orders telling phone companies like Verizon to turn over all phone records of American citizens to them every 3 months so they could see everyone who you were calling, who was calling you, for how long you were speaking, where you were when you were talking to them, incredibly revealing information. And he thought that it was intolerable to allow government officials to lie right to the American people, and also to allow this extraordinarily awesome power to be directed inward where we basically have no privacy. And he decided not to dump it all onto the internet like he could have done if he wanted to harm the United States, or didn't want to sell it to foreign powers like he could have done and gotten very rich. He instead came to journalists and told us, only release the information that you believe the public needs to know to understand these issues, and keep everything a secret that might endanger people or in which you're in doubt. And to this day, we've only released a small portion of that archive in accordance with his direction, because he really was acting patriotically. You may disagree with the methods and all of that, but there's no question, for me at least, that his motive was pure, which was that he was offended that the internet, which is supposed to be this technological innovation designed to empower the citizenry, free us from centralized state and corporate control, was instead degraded into the opposite, the most powerful force for surveillance and coercion ever invented in human history. And he felt like if that was what our government was going to do, that the citizens should at least be aware of it, and that they should decide whether they wanted their government doing that or not.